Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and today's video is about Super Bowl 13. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. We'll surely appreciate it here at 100 Yards of Football. Special thanks this morning, and always a blessing to my producer who makes it happen at a high level, Mr. Jeremiah Long. It's an honor, a pleasure, one more time, to be doing this video and coming into your living rooms here on 100 Yards of Football. Super Bowl 13. Everyone knows I'm a history buff, but this Super Bowl here to me is one of the most entertaining Super Bowls in my lifetime. I'm 62 years old. If you didn't know that, born July 17th, 1960. And one of my greatest travels through my life when I was an 18-year-old at the University of Arkansas at this time. And the two teams that was at the highest level in the National Football League was the two teams you see on the screen. It was the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Dallas Cowboys. I remember being in Fayetteville, Arkansas, watching that game on that January evening, 4 o'clock, from the Orange Bowl, the old Orange Bowl in Miami. These two teams went head up, the most two talented teams in the league at that time. And the thing that was so crucial about this game, both of them teams had 2 Super Bowl titles, and the winner of this game was going to get the 3rd Super Bowl title. And you're talking about star power. But it was during the time when I watched that game at Grayson Hall as an 18-year-old. Me and my buddies, who were freshmen at the time, we had half of the room that was Steeler fans, half of the room was Cowboy fans. And it brings up a lot of fun memories for me because there's some great people that I met at that time. That was my 4 years on campus, such as Earl Thomas from Magnolia, Arkansas, who became one of the biggest engineers in the state. My best friend, my roommate, I miss him to this day. If he happens to come across this video, Mr. Victor Moss, who's living in Scottsdale, Arizona, working for Cox Communication, is doing an outstanding job. And he was a Cowboys fan. So it's the Cowboys, America's team, and the Steelers, and we going at it. We got pizza flowing. We got beer, Pabst Blue Ribbon, Budweiser, Sledge Malt liquor going. Then we might have some little other stuff going, but I'm not going to put it out there. But everybody was hyped at 4 o'clock kickoff. And you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cowboys in that game. What made that game so evident and so great at that time, 15 players are in the Hall of Fame. 15 players from both squads one more time into the Hall of Fame. And then at that time, before the game came on, as we was doing our festivities, and I was just kind of lit off that beer, we had the sounds of the Bee Gees, Staying Alive. We had the sounds of Taste of Honey, Boogie Woogie. We had the sounds of Radio, Jack and Jill. We had the sounds of Parliament, Flashlight. Then Funkadelics, One Nation Under the Groove. Then Heat Wave, Groove Line. Then we had Foreigner, Double Vision. We had all that blasting coming out concurrently before the 4 o'clock kickoff. Then the game itself. And what I remember was Pittsburgh moving the football in there with Terry Bradshaw, who at that time was maybe the best quarterback in the league. And I'm going to say this about Terry Bradshaw. He's an analyst, been on Fox for a long time. And I said, sometimes this man doesn't get his flowers. Think about this. Terry Bradshaw won 4 Super Bowls. And I always say this about players, such as the Tom Brady's, the Patrick Mahomes. Big-time players playing big-time games. And the most thing I came out of that game about Terry Bradshaw was that he was 17 of 30 for 318 yards. He had 4 touchdowns. He had 3 turnovers in that game. But make no bones, at the end of the game, he was the best player on the field, along with that wide receiver from Alabama A&M, John Stallworth, who had 3 receptions for 115 yards. Then Lynn Swann did his thing from Southern California, 7 receptions, 124 yards. But the game went back and forth early on. If you remember that game, Bradshaw had that pretty 40-yard touchdown pass to John Stallworth in the corner of the end zone. Then the Cowboys came back at the end of the first quarter, took a turnover. Roger Staubach on the 40-yard line on the side of Pittsburgh's field hit Tony Hill on that beautiful, beautiful pass as he got behind Donnie Shell and took it in the end zone. Remember, Tony Hill went half-stepping in the end zone. Then in the second quarter, Dallas had the momentum. And remember that play that Thomas Simpson came on his sack and he sacked Terry Bradshaw. It was a young man that took the ball out of Bradshaw's hands and went 50 yards for a touchdown. His name was Mike Hetman. Northside High School, 901, Tennessee State University. Then the Cowboys went up 14-7. Then the Steelers, to me, it was the really change of the game and the momentum. Pittsburgh came back next possession. Ted Bradshaw goes back and hits John Stallworth on about a 20-yard comeback. Stallworth breaks the tackle Dallas cornerback Aaron Kyle and takes that thing 75 yards to the house. 14-14. To me, that was the changing point of the game. And I know we talk about great receivers in our time right now. We got DeAndre Hopkins that we talk about. We talk about Kelvin Johnson. We talk about C.D. Lamb. We talk about Tariq Hill and all the other great wide receivers that's in the Hall of Fame, such as Randy Moss and Terrell Owens. But make no bones, John Stallworth was very special in the late 70s, early 80s with the Pittsburgh Steelers and was a mainstay of their Pittsburgh Steelers Super Bowl teams. Then moving on. Game went back and forth at the end of the first half. Pittsburgh goes on a drive. And Ted Bradshaw strikes again. He rolls out and just look like he throws the ball up in the air. And little bitty Rocky Bly, Notre Dame finest, about 5'9", goes up in the air over D.D. Lewis. Remember, that's on the front cover of Sports Illustrated the next week, and he pulls it in. Pittsburgh goes up at halftime, 21-14. So at halftime, what we do, we're watching the game. We put One Nation Under the Groove again by Funkadelics, and then we put the Bee Gees back on. Staying Alive. We drinking beer. We playing spades. We having some fun, boy. My boys from Arkansas and this young man from Memphis, Tennessee, all those wide-eyed freshmen just having fun. Then the second half started. Third quarter, the game goes back and forth, and it was a hard-hitting game. I recommend everybody to go watch that game on YouTube and see how hard-hitting it was. Then the third quarter starts. As I just mentioned, both teams going back and forth, and then Dallas goes on the drive. They go to the Pittsburgh 10-yard line. It's 3rd and 2. Roger Staubach, Roger the Dodger, Navy's finest, calls a play-action pass. Jackie Smith is wide open in the end zone and drops the pass. Go look at it on YouTube, the game, how Tom Landry is going crazy. And Roger Staubach looks like he wants to get a gun and blow his brains out. That play right there determined Super Bowl 13. And why it was so hard to accept, Jackie Smith had been a cowboy killer for the St. Louis Cardinals in the mid-70s and had retired. And I believe a month before the Super Bowl or during the playoffs, the Cowboys got him out of retirement because of injuries. Go look at it. He was wide open. Dallas kicks the field goal. It's 21-17. Now this is the fourth quarter. The quarter that the game that legends are born. The Steelers go on the drive. There's a key pass interference call against Benny Barnes. Critical call is a 33-yard pass play. It put Pittsburgh, I can't remember, on Dallas' 28-yard line. But I remember the previous play when Thomas Henderson hit Franco Harris and he started yapping. And to be honest, I thought Franco Harris had lost a step. Next play, Franco Harris take that thing 25 yards to the house. And the Steeler Nation, as much as I'm a Cowboys fan, that Steeler Nation with that terrible towel, it started rocking in the Orange Bowl, baby. Then on the ensuing kickoff, Randy White. Remember, he played that game with a broken hand, with a cast. Pittsburgh short scripts to kickoff. I don't know how in the world Randy White is going to try to pick the ball up and run it. They teach you on special teams, just fall on the ball. Just fall on the ball, man. Well, what do Randy White do? He tries to pick the ball up. He fumbles. Pittsburgh recovers. I believe the ball is on the Dallas 35, first play. Ted Bradshaw goes up. Throws that pretty pass. You're looking it up in the air. Charlie Waters and Cliff Harris looking like this. And Lynn Swan with his outstanding leaping ability, like a ballerina, pulls it out of the air for a touchdown. And it hurts so bad. And then Lynn Swan gets up and spikes it like that and does like that. And the Cows from Pittsburgh go crazy. 35-17 ball game with 7 minutes left. Well, Dallas moves the ball down the field, scores a touchdown, stop back to Drew Pearson, 35-24. Dallas recovers outside kick. The Cowboys score another touchdown. Butch Johnson on the yard reception, only 22 seconds left. And then if Dallas again tries outside kick. Pittsburgh recovers. Great game. Super Bowl 13 is over with. Pittsburgh 35, Dallas 31. And what I took from that game, as hard as it hurts, and I also lost $50 on the game also. And I had to deal with a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers fans on the campus of the University of Arkansas the following week. And the most important thing that I had to deal with, I remember I had a history class the next day at 10 a.m. And a couple of people that I had batted with, some SAE white brothers from the SAE fraternity, and a couple of brothers from other fraternities like Omega Psi Phi and the Alphas, because I had made like $5, $10 bets. I walk into class and I'm Steelers fans. You know what they had for me, audience? They walk in, how you doing, Vincent? And the professor was named Mr. Williams. Vincent, how do you feeling this morning? I feel pretty sick and then I have a hangover. And he was a Steelers fan too. You know what they did? They had went down to the nearest grocery store, or I don't know what store they went, and they pulled out them gold terrible towels and they started saying, Steeler Nation! And as an 18-year-old, I had to take that like a man. But what a game. So many great players in that game for Pittsburgh. Donnie Shell, Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, Mean Joe Green, Dwight White. And the nickelback was a young Tony Dungy. What a football team. Lynn Swan, John Starwood, Franco Harris, Rocky Bly, and a phenomenal head coach, Chuck Noll. And then on the other side of the ball, one of the greatest players ever, Roger Staubach. The man from Pittsburgh, the suburbs, Tony Dorsett, Tony Hill, Drew Pearson. Man, I'm finally glad you got in the Hall of Fame. Much love to your flowers. Rayfield Wright, much love to him, was the offensive line, or starting offensive lineman. Thomas Hollywood Henderson, my homeboy from the 901, Mike Heckman, Aaron Kyle, Benny Bonds, so many great players. And that game to me ended up being one of the best ever, Super Bowl 13. So, if you like the video, please come in and share it. And I recommend, if you watch this video today, go watch Super Bowl 13. Ted Bradshaw. We don't really mention a lot about him in the realms of being on that Mount Rushmore. Now everybody talks about Tom Brady and Joe Montana, I understand, but let me tell you something. Ted Bradshaw has all the rights to proclaim himself on that Mount Rushmore. That gentleman was 4-0 in the Super Bowls. 4-0. In Super Bowl 13, he was special. He had 2 fumbles in that game, 1 interception, but he still went for 318 yards. To my team here at 100 Yards Football, once again, much love. To my people, Mr. Jeremiah Long, I would not be who I am today without you. You coming into my life 3 years ago means a lot to me, brother. You have changed my life. To Mr. Bobby Butler, thank you. To Mr. Logan Landers, thank you. To Mr. Ronnie Keebler, thank you. And to Mr. Mark Denham, thank you. And a special shout out to my boy AJ Morris from the Bronx. Thank you, brother, for making my weekend go a lot smoother because you fixed my car. You know, when your car is down, you cannot function right. Thank you again to my brother, Mr. AJ Morris. And to my people in my hometown, in 901, my parents, they just had a birthday this past weekend. My mother, Inez Turner, who turned 84 this weekend. My father, Chester, who turned 86. I could not be much more prouder. And to my uncle, Opie Turner, keep doing what you're doing. He's 81, man. Wisdom and love all around me. And don't let me forget nobody else, Mr. Donnell Scott. Thank you for your support this week, brother. To the whole team, 100 yards for ball. And to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Super Bowl 13 winners. The first 3-time Super Bowl champion during that time. Like the great band Lakeside. The Steelers were all the way live in Miami, January of 1979. Y'all be blessed here on 100 Yards of Football.